Hey, word on the street is your binoculars are from 1976. Do you want some cool ones from Vortex? Yeah, you do. Like, comment, subscribe. We're giving them away every single month of the season. So if you like, comment, and subscribe, you're entered. All right, guys, so the past 5 plus 6, probably 7 years for sure, I would say, I've been shooting 80-pound bows. And I know it's a turnoff for a lot of you, but I've been doing it for a certain reason. I want a tight pin gap. I will be the first to admit that I shoot bow all season long, all year long, all off season long. And I can drop tacks like you wouldn't believe at 100 yards. But when it comes to shooting a buck, man, there's something about the old ticker that just, and I get worked up. And so in my mind, I have to have this bow that creates the least, or I guess, has the best margin for error. And so I want something that shoots extremely flat, extremely fast, and has a tighter pin gap so that if I'm a little bit off, I can get away with it, and now I've accounted for that margin of error. So in the past, guys, I shot a lot of PSE bows in the past. We shot for PSE. I think they had a good product. And honestly, I fell in love with them for a while there, and especially fell in love with their initial, or their ownership. You know, Pete Shepley, like legend of the industry. So we shot PSE for the past 5 or 6 years. But I kind of just wanted to go off on my own and to shoot what I wanted. Not be tied to any brand, and ultimately like get a more tunable bow. I had issues tuning those bows, especially when you're shooting an 80-pound bow and you're shooting fixed blade broadheads. I had a lot of issues with them. Is that their fault? Probably not. Probably the guy on this end, but I just needed something a little bit easier, a little bit more tunable, and I might have just given away what bow I'm shooting this year, if you guys know stuff about bows and what's come out recently. But I picked a specific bow, and I will just show it to you this year, and it is the Lift X. Okay, guys, the Lift X is a Mathews bow that I believe is, what we're looking at, like 28, 29 axle to axle. So extremely compact bow, extremely usable in a tree stand application or in a blind. That's all fine and dandy. That's not what we're talking about today. It was all about pin gap for me, guys, and having a extremely tight pin gap so that my difference from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 really isn't all that different, so that I had that margin of error. And so in the past, I've shot FMJs. When Exodus trail cameras was still in business, I shot their custom arrows that they made me that probably ended up someplace around 500 grains, 550 maybe even, depending on the setup, you know, in the past. I've always been over 500, and here's what I realized, guys, is that I was shooting, I probably shot, I'll say, in the past 5 years, 40 deer. Every single deer I've passed through, and put it into the ground about a foot deep on the backside. So what that meant to me, guys, is at some point I had too much momentum. You know, people make the argument about kinetic energy. I think momentum is more important when it comes to hunting and penetration, but I had extreme amounts of momentum to the point where it was a little bit ridiculous, where I felt like I could actually pull off the weight of the arrow and have a faster, tighter pin gap and still have really good results. Now, I shot the QAD Exodus for the past couple years as far as broadheads go. This year, I'm bought into the hype. I'm gonna try out the Beast broadheads. Maybe I should have kept a 500 plus grain arrow, we'll see. But anyway, guys, this bow, okay, 29.5-inch draw with a RIP TKO 250 spine. Comes in at roughly, without a nocturnal on, still the stock nock, 467 grains, okay? So 467 grains out of an 83-pound maxed out, 83-pound Lift X, which probably the IBOs in the 340s. This 467 grain arrow chronoed today at 319.7 feet per second. What? Now at some point you're like, okay, little ridiculous, maybe overkill. I could have made the argument with the heavier, slower arrow that it was overkill that way, because I was penetrating and passing through every single deer. And if you're doing that, and I'm not gonna lie to you, some questionable shots sometimes, where I guess what I would want to say is that I was never afraid to take a quartering two shot. And so I was taking all these shots and I was always passing through. I think one time I did not pass through, but I literally grabbed the arrow out of the groin of a buck that I had shot nearly straight on. So now by going with this lighter arrow, I have a tighter pin gap. And at the end of the day, my bow hunting rig is shooting 320 feet per second. I have a tight compact bow, not one of these 33-inch axle to axle big honking things that are heavy as hell. Like, this is the ultimate archery setup for deer in tight spaces, blinds, but also if I'm going out west again, I'm not lugging around a 33-inch axle to axle bow. I also want to say I have zero affiliation with Mathews, but I really do feel like they got the best bow. And I guess since we're already talking about the bow, guys, as far as upgrades, I still got the sticker on it. You can see it right there. I put an aftermarket, not an aftermarket, but I put a different grip on it. Let's see if it says which one it was. It's a little bit fatter grip from Mathews. They offer numerous options. It was not the stock one because I was torquing the bow a little bit, but I did add that, and then I still shoot the old, I believe it's a Tetra Max from HHA. Tetra Max. Now, they wouldn't want me to tell you this, and I don't work with them, so it is what it is, guys. This Tetra Max is as good as any other sight on the market. It's a 5-pin sight, so I got it set at 20, 30, 40, 50, and then I can dial it from 60 to 100 if I wanted to, 120 yards if I wanted to with the dial. I don't want to shoot a single pin because at the end of the day, the single pin, like, you just forget to move it, and next thing you know, a big buck of your lifetime comes in at the wrong yardage, and you thought you were set correctly, and you weren't. So at the end of the day, guys, my bow hunting rig, compact, smooth as butter draw, even at 83 pounds, is shooting 320 feet per second. I'm not much of a rig guy, like a spec guy or a equipment guy, but guys, when I shot that through a chrono today, and I'm going to send the picture to Landon so that you guys can see it in this video, when I saw that it was 320 feet per second, I thought, damn, Brett, you might have just accomplished like your ultimate feat to have that tightest pin gap the tightest pin gap possible, guys. So at the end of the day, that's the rig that I'm shooting this year. No affiliation. Let me know what brands you like down in the comments below. I'm never opposed to shooting something new or different next year. I'm all about just shooting, shooting every bow and seeing what works best. And this year, this seems like this is the rig that's going to work best.